Thank you, Count Corley, and thanks to Sinn Féin for bringing on this motion, which allows us to discuss further the rising cost of living and the development of the week, which now sees the motion calling for many reductions, including that of VAT, of which I proposed last week. But much of the earlier price surges were seen as temporary due to supply chain bottlenecks associated with the lockdown. But the longer they go on, Count Corley, the more temporary fuses into the permanent, resulting in the economy moving from underperforming to overheating, with no period of stability in the middle. Once inflation becomes embedded into the system, it's very difficult to wring it out. Acknowledging that not all current cost of living problems can be blamed entirely on government, but decisions taken by the government have certainly made the problem worse than it otherwise would have been, and it is within the government's power to reverse some of their detrimental decisions. In the last few months, the government did a number of things which are contributing to the problem. The first example is that of the first major issue impacting the cost of living is the lack of supply in our housing markets, both for purchase and for rent. The Office of the Planning Regulator has been advising councillors and councils on planning by trying to enforce planning guidelines which are not prescribed by law. Councillors who believe the advice of the regulator is infallible, resulting in many examples of houses not being built, judicial reviews, projects scrapped and supply restricted. And we all know that when supply is restricted, the price of the existing unit will increase. I have yet to see evidence of the government addressing the issue. In fact, whenever I've raised it previously, I've been met with ministers trying to stonewall it. Addressing the problems in our planning system would ultimately help with the cost of living problems. Example number 2, petrol and diesel. Currently, at the petrol or diesel pump, about 55% of the price is government taxes and charges. Every time the carbon tax is increased, the government not only benefit from the increase in carbon tax itself, but also benefit from the extra VAT being charged on the higher carbon tax. Likewise, when the wholesale price of petrol or diesel increases, the VAT returns to government also increase. There is no organisation in Ireland who has caused fuel prices to increase more than the government itself. Not only does a rise in the cost of diesel hurt the commuter travelling to work, but it also means a major increase in the overheads for many businesses. Anything which needs to be delivered will be more expensive to deliver. Anything that is farmed will be more expensive to produce, and ultimately the consumer will be met with a double or triple whammy of price increases, all resulting from an increase in the cost of motor fuel. Ending the practice of applying VAT on excise duties would be a start. Or perhaps the VAT rate could be reduced, as was done in Poland, or just get rid of the carbon tax. All of the above 3 options are within the government's power if the political will was there to do it. Example number 3, home heating. Most people within the pale may not realise, but a bag of coal today costs €24, and every bag of coal purchased the government's take is €7. Last week, the supply price of a bag of coal increased by €4.50 per bag plus VAT. Another increase of €2.50 happens on April 4th, and then an increase on the 1st of May of carbon tax will apply, all subject to VAT increases, making the government's tax take €8, while the price of a bag of coal will have doubled in the last 7 months. The cost of home heating oil has risen significantly, and I'm not sure over the last few weeks, but we've all heard the stories of home heating oil prices going up overnight and companies not being able to guarantee prices even a few hours before delivery. What has surprised me most are the utterances from members of the House of home heating purchases of 1,000 litres. Most people or families that I speak to are barely able to purchase 300 litres at a time, and it worries me greatly that the disconnect of those in this House and the people trying to purchase 300 litres or a bag of coal. I just find it very worrying. Nor, Count Corley, does the fuel allowance cover the level of increase which we've heard from many today. We must remember that the people who qualify for fuel allowance are the least able to transition to expensive green alternatives. We have one of the highest VAT rates in the world, and we are charging VAT on other taxes. I don't know how the practice of applying VAT on excise duties was ever allowed to come into play. But it is the scandalous state of affairs which needs to be changed, one that government must acknowledge is morally reprehensible at all times, but moreover at this time. Almost there, Count Corla. Most of the cost of living problems are being made worse by government taxes, charges and regulations. We've heard a lot about the Ukraine, but it has simply brought a sharper focus of the problems we have. Obviously, the clock is out, Count Corla, but I just want to say many people have come to me in the last week or two and said that they don't feel that the green jersey is being donned here on behalf of the Irish economy, particularly by the said minister who's here today. They do feel, however, that as chair of the ECOFIN ministers, there is a career watch prospect ongoing that may be detrimental to the Irish economy.
Okay,
and I'd ask that would be addressed most fearful.